So they're consuming a gigantic amount of energy, which comes down to 8 gigawatts in total, which is comparable to the electrical energy consumption of a country like Switzerland.
We're here with Alex De Vries, who's published numerous academic papers on the negative impact on the environment of Bitcoin mining. Alex, from your perspective, how bad is Bitcoin mining on the environment?
So a single Bitcoin mining machine runs on roughly 1500 watts.
Mm-hmm.
A normal mining facility will normally contain between maybe 15 to 25,000 of those devices. And the whole Bitcoin network together features at least 4 million of those mining machines. So they're consuming a gigantic amount of energy, which comes down to 8 gigawatts in total, which is comparable to the electrical energy consumption of a country like Switzerland.
So more than the pollution created by the mining itself, there's also obviously the pollution with these devices basically that are being used as well.
Yeah, that's the second part of the problem. So first of all, you have these machines consuming electricity, and then you have to wonder what happens to those machines when they're done mining. Well, these machines are hardwired for a single task, which optimizes performance, which is great if you are mining. But the downside is then when you're done mining, there's no other purpose for these machines. So the only thing you can do is just throw them away, and they end up in landfills and incinerators. And the pile of e-waste is pretty big as well. So in total, you got to figure that the single machine weighs about 4 kilos. So all those machines together, the current generation has a weight of around 12 kilotons. If they all get thrown away, that would be the same electronic waste output as a small country like Luxembourg.
Okay. But the same argument could be made for cell phones, for example, right? Once we've done with our old iPhone, we throw it away. So there's pollution there as well with any kind of electronic gadget. Why particularly Bitcoin mining machines?
Well, what's particularly shocking about Bitcoin is that the environmental impact it has as a whole is, well, it's not the end of the world at this time, but it's certainly not negligible. Right? We're talking about countries like Switzerland and Luxembourg.
Yeah.
But the real pain becomes visible when you look at what are we actually using it for. And the whole Bitcoin network is processing 81 million transactions per year. Yeah. Is that a lot? No, it's almost negligible in the financial industry because the whole banking industry handles around 500 billion non-cash transactions per year. So Bitcoin isn't even a speck of dust in the whole financial system.
But it still consumes way more electricity.
Yes, so the proportions are just way off, and it results in extreme footprints per transaction. So for example, the energy footprint per transaction is close to 800 kilowatt hours. If you're living in the US, and you're having an average household, 800 kilowatt hours will supply you for roughly a month. And of course, it's also, it's around 135 grams of electronic waste per transaction, which is the same as 260 watt light bulbs. Now, if you look at the traditional financial system, those numbers are way, way lower. So a Visa transaction requires between 1 and 2 watt hours. We're not talking kilowatt hours, we're talking watt hours. And then the electronic waste footprint for a Visa transaction, I just said 135 grams per Bitcoin transaction. For a Visa transaction, it's closer to 0.0045-ish.
But many would argue that there's a cost to pay. The fact that we're able to send payments peer-to-peer in a decentralized way, yes, it's causing environmental damage, but is it cost to pay to be able to transact in a decentralized way with no trusted intermediaries? What do you think of that?
Well, that's an argument that many make, but I would say that first of all, Bitcoin isn't really being used in a decentralized way. I think where we have traditional banks in the Bitcoin world, we nowadays have a lot of Bitcoin banks, and they're handling most of the volumes in Bitcoin. So the whole ideal of decentralized payments is not really happening. Of course, you have the option to actually use it that way, but that's absolutely not the case at the moment.